What is going on, Slot Car family? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. This is MP Slot Car. I'm Massimo and today I'm behind the camera. I'm not feeling too well. I'm a little bit under the weather. I've been on and off sick for the last, I'm gonna say 3 weeks now. So I'm gonna just do a point and shoot video, and I figured this is a good opportunity to do a walkthrough video on my track. Many of you have been asking for some time now for me to do a video like this, so I feel like today is the day. So we're going to do a walk around the track. I'm going to break down all the track pieces I've used, and in the description I'll put a whole breakdown for you all as well. So without further ado, let's do a lap around my track. So we'll come over to the start of the main straight here and we'll complete a whole lap. So how did I build this track? Well, I started off with a third straight right here. I'll get into the pit lane when we come back around. I'm just going to do the track first. So a third straight into a single lane straight here. 2 standard straights. Well, I guess these were the starting grid straights, but they're pretty much 2 standard straights. The control unit, the brains of the track, followed by a double lane changer, so that's 2 standard straights long, into another single straight here, and then the start lights, which is a single straight as well. So that covers the main straight, which is 8 standard straights long plus the third straight at the beginning there. So now we'll head into corner 1 here, which consists of 2 R1 corners, or 160 degrees corners, into a 130 right there, kinking the other way. So that's corner 1 into 2. Then we have 2 standard straights, 1, 2, into a R1 or 160 degree change lane right there. So this mini straight here has 3 standard straights, which goes into this lane changer, which brings us on to the back straight, which starts off with a 130 degree into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 standard straights long, which is the back straight. And obviously, as you can see, 2 of them are the single lane changers, one going to the outside and one kicking right back in to the inside there. So that is the back straight, and we're going to head into the bridge section here. As you can see, one of the audience members is taking a nap there, right on. So under the bridge, we got a 160 corner that goes into a 130. Let me get around here and show you exactly what's going on. So a better look at under the bridge, and you can see the 160 into the 130 here, which brings us into our first sector of the track, which is our check lane. It's a standard straight, so this is where the first sector is coming around the track, sector 1, which goes into a quarter straight here, single straight, and 2 R1s into a 130. This obviously is a lane changer. Coming around here. So it's not a direct hairpin, obviously, as you can see. It's not a full hairpin. It kinks to the left there. So that's why there's the 130 into a quarter straight. And under the bridge there, there's a 2 single straights. And we'll walk around back to the other side, getting a little bit of a workout today. So there are those 2 single straights I just mentioned, which go into a 160 degree corner here. And then heading into the hairpin here, so we go under the Red Bull bridge. It's 2 standard straights, which is again a single lane changer, into the hairpin complex, which this comes as a kit from Carrera, and you'll get all of this included along with these inner tire wall here. So that's a kit there, which these are not a full standard straight. As you can see, they're a little bit shorter, so I guess you could call it a straight. And it goes into the hairpin here, which narrows. I know some people don't like that because, you know, if you have nice cars, they can collide and maybe cause damage. I like it because it adds a little bit of, adds for some interesting racing. You know what's coming up, So if you're side by side with someone coming into the corner, you know you got to back off, or the other guy has to back off. Sometimes none of you do, and you hit, and that's how you learn that you got to give each other room, like in real racing. You don't want to pull a Michael Schumacher and Jacques Villeneuve a la 97 there.
Like a slow puncture or some kind of gear shift problem, because Villeneuve is all over him. Look, he's going through. Oh yes. Oh, I don't think.
Out goes Michael Schumacher.
That didn't work. That didn't work, Michael. You hit the wrong part of him, my friend. I don't think that will cause Villeneuve a problem.
So coming out of the hairpin, we got two R1s, or again 160, whichever way you want to call them. So 160, 160 into a standard straight. Another 160 there, which brings you on top of the bridge for a quarter straight, our second sector, which is a check lane. And I'm gonna have to move that. I'm revising the third sector, which I'll get into, but that's gonna be moved because sometimes when the cars come around the corner, they kick out and this won't catch the sensor. So I'm gonna move that, and I'm gonna get into what I'm gonna be doing to the third sector after I go through the lap. So we got a, like I just mentioned, the quarter straight into a standard straight, which is check lane, and two more standard straights followed right after. So we got three standard straights, a quarter, and a quarter and a third at the end. So to recap the bridge section, we have a quarter straight to start us off there, into three standard straights, one of them being the check lane, into a third straight, a 160, third straight, 160, 160, and a 130. So this complex up here consists of 1, 2, 3 160 degrees and 130, along with the third straight. So that's going to bring us to the downhill, which shoots onto the main straight. So this downhill consists of three standard straights, 1, 2, 3. Obviously this one being a single lane changer. That's there to set you up for a pit stop if you have to make a pit stop. So after these three standard straights, that leads into a 130, a third straight, 160, and right back on to the main straight here where we started off. So that brings you around a lap for the MP Slot Car Autodromo circuit. Now we're going to go through the pit lane and how I have it set up currently, which is not really practical with this pit wall right now, which is just set up more for pictures and videos. But I'm going to have to try editing that when I redo this third sector. So for the pit lane, let me move this pit wall and I'll show you how I set that up. So with the pit wall out of the way, let's take a look at the pit lane itself. So we have the first pit entry here, which goes into another pit entry. So it's double pit entries. Now, I've mentioned this a few times. The way I have this set up is not good for running 124 scale cars. It won't pick up the second lane changer and you're going to be stuck in this lane, which will basically bring you to pit stalls 1 and 2, which are still fine. But to make this work for 124s, I'm going to have to space this out in my new layout, and again I'm going to get to that, what I'm going to do. So if you're building this, just keep that in mind. If you're running 124 scale, that you have to have this spaced out with at least a quarter straight or something, just to space it out where the cars can straighten out a bit and get the lane change. If you're running 132s, you're fine. It'll make the double lane change no problem. So that being said, after the double pit entry, we have the first pit stalls here. So you cross that and you could drive a little bit ahead. So that's basically 2 pit stalls. Once you cross the receiver there, you can have 2 cars basically pitting here. When you exit, come through this crossover and it'll bring you to the pit exit. Now if you only make 1 lane change coming through here, you'll come through here. You only do 1 click entering the pit stop instead of a double click. And you do the crossover and you go into pit stalls 1 and 2. So I got this idea from Dave's track, and it's pretty good for when you have a couple racers racing at the same time, where the guy somewhere, usually in the third sector or second sector, you're going to call that you're pitting, and you're going to be pitting box 1 and 2 or 3 and 4, just so if someone else is pitting that lap too, they can kind of navigate where if someone's in box 1, you can double click and go into box 3 or 4 and not interrupt their pit stop, and they won't interrupt yours. And if you mess up, you mess up, and you're stuck behind them refueling. But again, it adds to the strategy, right? And that's what I like about running digital. You can perform undercuts and all that good stuff with the fuel strategies and everything. So after the second single lane here, which is the pit stop, there's a single lane there as well, and there into the first pit exit, which goes right into the second pit exit, and that's the whole pit lane breakdown there. So now getting into the changes I want to make to the third sector, which I mentioned a few times. I'm going to be moving that up a little bit so I don't have any issues with cars missing that the second sector check lane there. And what I want to do up here is I want to make this more user friendly, and a wider radius corner there and here for people coming around this corner can basically carry on more speed and let the cars really stretch their legs a little bit more coming onto the main straight. So my goal is to maybe extend this out a bit, come out this way utilizing 230 corners here and a bunch of 230s here coming around straight down, and again 230s coming this way onto the main straight. So a wider radius corner, because this already, with some cars, you can kind of, once you get to this kink here, you can gun it all the way down, but I want to have this a full, like, wider radius here, come down, wide radius, so you can really gun it from there and let the cars stretch your legs. And if the car's set up right, even from here, you can kind of just gun it and, again, add some more speed to the track. I like the technical aspects, I like having that kink there, but again, I want to kind of add a little bit more speed to the track and a little bit more length coming out this way. I can utilize this space. I can also move the track over a little bit more where I can still fit through here if I have to get to that side to Marshall. So that's my plan. I'm going to extend the table a little bit and build this out. That's my next project on this track, along with the Omni slot box. As some of you have saw that me and Raul both got one and unboxed them. So I'll finally be able to run some analog cars on this track as well. So that's pretty much it here. Just a quick overview of the track. Many of you have been asking over the past few months for me to do something like this. A lot of you have reached out to me via email or Instagram for my track plans, so you can recreate something like this in your house. So I hope this video helped clear up some of the questions many of you have had, how the pit lane is set up and the track in general. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I try to respond in a timely manner. So that's going to wrap up this video here, and I hope you all enjoyed it. This has been MP Slot Car. I'm Massimo. Keep your guide in the slots, and I will catch you all next time. Take care. Ciao.